So what was your dominant impression from the meeting?
It was of a determined president, or president-elect, who is making the transition from being a campaigner to being a national strategist, and was trying to inform himself on the various aspects of the current situation.
You've seen many president-elects come into office. This one seems quite unusual. What do you see as the challenges and opportunities for a President Trump?
Well, this president-elect, it's the most unique that I have experienced in one respect. He has absolutely no baggage. He has no obligation to any particular group because he has become a president on the basis of his own strategy and a program he put before the American public that his competitors did not present. So that is a unique situation.
You say he has no baggage. You're right in the sense that he doesn't come out of a particular foreign policy tradition or school, but he has said a whole number of things during the campaign. And one thing he's been very insistent on is protectionism. He's talked about, labeling China a currency manipulator, 35%, 45% tariffs, renegotiating trade deals. You know China very well. How will they react if the president labels them a currency manipulator?
Of course, you understand, I'm not here as a spokesman of the president-elect. I'm here to answer questions of my impressions of there is the impact of globalization. And I wrote minor things about that earlier. Not enough attention was paid to the fact that it was bound to have winners and losers, and that the losers were bound to try to express themselves in some kind of political reaction. In my view, in the present situation, one should not insist on nailing him into positions that he had taken in the campaign on which he doesn't insist. If he insists on them, then of course disagreements will become expressed. But if he develops another program and leaves the question open of what he said in the campaign, one should not make that the decisive element.
You're saying very nicely that we should welcome some flip-flops.
I think we should give him an opportunity to develop the positive objectives that he may have and to discuss those. And we've gone through too many decades of tearing incumbent administrations apart. And it may happen again, but we shouldn't begin that way. And we shouldn't end up that way either. But so that would be my basic view.
Donald Trump has often said that he'd like to make a deal with Putin, that he thinks that he and Putin could make a deal. I think you're the American who has met with Vladimir Putin more one-on-one than almost anybody else, more than 25 meetings. What would you recommend that Trump look for in that meeting?
Well, let me say, there is a difference between commercial deals and foreign policy deals. Commercial deals are usually between entities that have one particular objective that they share or some crisis that they want to reduce. They deal with that, come to an agreement, and never see each other again.
It's a single transaction.
Exactly, it's a single transaction. In foreign policy, you meet the same people over and over again. And so you have to build not only for one deal, you have to build for a deal that produces an impetus for further deals along the way. Putin's convinced. First of all, he's convinced. It's not, he doesn't think the transformation that occurred was an American victory in the Cold War. It was that the Russians got rid of communism on their own as a Russian decision. And in his image, America then took advantage of this by moving the defense line from the middle of Europe over 1,000 miles to within 300 miles of Moscow. So it is a question for him to regain respect. So the test that any administration would face, and that this administration, of course, will face, is it possible to have a dialogue with Putin which starts from the premise that he's taken seriously? And I think the previous administration sometimes had a condescending rhetoric in dealing with him.
Trump's election does represent, it seems to me, a part of the American public that does feel that the United States has borne these imperial burdens or these international burdens, and that we get nothing for it. Allies don't do their fair share. Free trade is something that doesn't work for them. Given that those foreign policy impulses, what does a President Trump do? Does he cater to them entirely? Does he move back to a more traditional internationalist position?
What is striking about his campaign is that he did seem to have a strategy to which he stuck, regardless of the pressures that came on him. Now the art now would be to develop a strategy that is sustainable, that meets the concerns that have appeared during the campaign, but that can be linked to some of the main themes of American foreign policy. Because with all the criticism all of us have made for the entire post-World War II period, the freedom and peace of the world have been maintained by America primarily. And so this ultimate mission has to be preserved, though in a different manner and in a different context and in a perhaps less assertive manner than has been the case in previous periods.
Henry Kissinger, always a pleasure. Come back when you're 94. Next on GPS, Trump says he's going to defeat ISIS. Can he do it? We'll talk to the outgoing Deputy Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, on the